She wants to be in like a tight-knit group, a circle of like-minded individuals. That's her. She wants to be in a cult. She wants to be in a cult. So Dr. K is such an amazing person. He told me I'm making a difference in the world. So who's actively making content out of mentally ill people? Who's she indicting for this? Who's she indicting for this? Because that was Destiny's content for like 3 years. You were part of the circus. Drive their hand through your face and just like fiddle with your brain. If they could do that, they would absolutely. The moment they had the opportunity, they would do that. Okay, Erudite. Okay, I think you're probably not in the position to be talking that way right now. So, we are here to watch a not-so-erudite conversation from yesterday. She had some small streamer on, whose name is Cereal for Breakfast, or something, I think. Like this Asian girl, she's a med student. Instead, getting grilling a med student or something was the title of the stream. So she brought on this med student, and she says at the start who set them up. So we're going to watch the start, and then we're going to skim through this this Dr. K segment.
Okay, in the source, I should get rid of the camera source.
Don't delete it. Just want me to like share.
Actually, yeah, I don't care enough to wait for all. We're gonna skip through. I'm just gonna tell you what happened. Okay, so at the very start, Erudite says who got these two in contact, or she says who got these two in contact. I can't remember who says it, but basically they say who got them in contact. Now, there's someone we have a bit of a history with. I have a bit of a history with. Many spicy chats have a little bit of a history with. Who once co-hosted a stream with Erudite, once called into Destiny's stream, and we covered it. And it's just very funny that he's once again caught interacting with women. Right, Erudite said the person who got them in contact was none other than Bryce Live. Bryce Live, everyone's favorite, Bryce Live. So, for those who don't know, basically Bryce, who got these two in contact, is this, he used to be like, he's like an Erudite toady. He really is. He's like an Erudite toady. He was like a DGGer that would, like, you know, defend all the DGG perspectives, but also he would do that horrible, disgusting. This is the first time I met him. I can't remember who he was doing it to. It was someone in a VC. It might have even been Anna. He was doing that disgusting thing where he's like a DGG trash panda, and he's sitting there trying to do the advice giving thing. He's like, well, Anna, don't you think like people would be more receptive to you if you did this, if you like behave like this? Doing that whole disgusting behavior that so many guys, especially DGG guys, will do, with the grotesque advice, unsolicited advice giving behavior that is just like, it's not only blatantly patronizing, because you obviously think, oh, this woman needs my help. It's not only blatantly patronizing, there's also an obvious sick psychosexual element happening there, where you think you will be able to f this girl if you give her good enough advice. Now, regardless of that, moving on from that, that's when I first met Bryce. Now, this guy has been nothing but an Erudite toady and up, you know, just the dumbest shit in the world for ages. He went on Destiny stream once, and he had a breakdown, being like, can you please pardon me in DGG? He was begging for the pardon from Destiny for his Destiny GG Discord rap sheet, because he has a rap sheet in the Destiny community for harassing women too much, basically, for being weird with women, for annoying women. He had a rap sheet and he wanted it gone because he was saying he was innocent. He was innocent. It was bullshit. She admitted it was bullshit. He wanted his rap sheet pardoned. He wanted Destiny to pardon his rap sheet. And Destiny was like, I don't know if you're innocent or not. I don't want to get involved in this. And he was like, oh, I'm sorry for asking you. It was really embarrassing. It was really bad. Not good at all. And all it did was, he sounded guilty the whole time too. He was like panicking while he's on stream. You'd have to go back and look at all this. He's panicking while he's on stream, and he's making himself sound more guilty. And you can see in Destiny's reaction, Destiny's like, I don't know how to handle this. And the chat is going crazy. And he might be innocent, but he just did the absolute worst thing possible, because no one knew about his history. No one knew about his history. but he just went on stream to bring it up. And then he had another one where he was meant to co-host a panel with Erudite, and they had Destiny on, I think. But then there was like no other. They were like meant to have callers, but all the callers sucked, and it was like the most boring panel you've ever watched. It was like totally shameful. It was like horrible. No, I don't have clips at the ready. This is all lore that I'm just recollecting, and you have to go back and look. It's fucking Bryce, dude. I'm sorry. But anyway, the reason I got this image up, this image was created by Bug Squander, I believe. And this image ran Bryce off the internet. This made him disappear for like over a year. He totally vanished. He was a small streamer, trying to make it, being an erudite toady. And he totally vanished after this image was made. He was completely bullied off. Because he would spend every day in Discord. It would be like he's tagging women. He would be in Spicy Chat and he would just tag women. He would tag Boots when she was around. He would tag, you know, fucking whatever woman was in chat. Tag her and be like, oh, hey, how's it going? How's your morning? How's it going? How's your morning? And like try and talk to them about like philosophy and shit. It's like the most obvious, embarrassing riz ever. And he would try to do the plausible deniability thing. Like, oh, I'm just saying hi. Just saying hi. It's like the who, you know, oh, where's my hug? You know, it's like that. That was his energy constantly. Him and Y does, this other guy, would just tag women every day like, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's fucking horrible. Thankfully, we have totally purged that behavior from these communities. That has been completely purged. I'm so happy that's gone. It was very common, way too common, like a year ago, 2 years ago, longer than 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We've purged that. It's gone. All these guys are gone, bullied out, referred to as rapists, just totally slandered. So we're in a good state now. But I heard Bryce's name yesterday when I was watching this, and I was like, of course it's Bryce who got these two in contact. Of course it was Bryce, who knows about the, 200 viewer med student streamer that he's going to hook up with Erudite. And you know exactly why he did it too. You know exactly the dynamic here. Oh, I know this NotSoErudite. She used to co-host a podcast with Destiny. She's kind of a big deal. I can get you on her stream. You know that I'd be like the best chat. I'd be the best mod. I could get you on a stream. You know exactly the thinking. You know exactly, like Harvey Weinstein levels of thinking. No, I'm joking. But that's all, he's trying to use the connection to impress her in some way. I think, personally. That's like my reading. That's my reading. So it's just all a very strange setup. But she came on, and actually, to be honest, this girl was okay from what I saw. She absolutely, she digs her heels in on the Dr. K disagreement, on the Dr. K ethics thing. And basically makes the case against Dr. K just really well, lays it out clearly. And Erudite has to sit there and, like, because Erudite, and dude, everything I say about Erudite just comes true. She admits to it being true. She knows it's all true. I want someone to tell me where I've been wrong about Erudite. She says at one point in this conversation that the thing she values most, the thing she's really looking for, is belonging. She's looking for a circle. She literally says this. The thing she's looking for above all else, like belonging in a circle. She wants to be in like a tight-knit group, a circle of like-minded individuals. That's her. She wants to be in a cult. She wants to be in a cult, okay? She wants to be the bottom bitch of a cult, okay, fundamentally. And you just see this come through in so much of her behavior. And you'll see her here try to basically square the circle. Sorry, you're right. The horse didn't kick her in the head. It threw her over a fence. You're right. I was wrong about that one. That is correct. You'll see it in this way. She does that thing where she tries to impress people constantly. And because this girl here, her name's Cereal for Breakfast, I think her name's Lainey, it said on Discord. Cereal for Breakfast is a bit much. Lainey here, this girl, says that basically she's making the Mr. Girl arguments, or like the rough, arguments that anyone that was on that side of things was making back then. But because Erudite is trying to impress her, Erudite has to pretend that these are like new disagreements that she hasn't heard before, so that it makes sense for her to accept them as good critique. Because she's obviously disregarded everyone before as uneducated retards who just don't know anything about the medical field, don't know anything about psychology. But she's a med student. And Erudite's trying to impress her. So Erudite now has to square the circle of everyone who said this before is a retard, but not you. and it's very funny to watch. So we're going to try and find where it starts.
Is it that crazy that people think it's a duck? Like, and that's where I think I feel
it's like right here.
So the reason
changed.
We're at the right spot
after a debate.
Yeah, lots.
What are some of the big ones that you've changed your view on?
Miffy plushie, she won. Is that the thing here? Is that I believe that's $200, she said. Is that correct?
Problem is that usually when my mind gets changed, it's always in small little ways where to like update and flesh out my position on something. What's a big one recently? I'm trying to think. I've only had a couple of like formal debates recently. I mean, the problem is I debate in my Discord a lot as well. So I think like areas where I've had my position updated has been a little bit more private recently, just because it's been on like Discord or like debating with my friends or my husband. Like 2 days ago, I was debating with my husband on like creator growth and opportunities and like riding waves up, and like kind of like lamenting about how it feels like the way that you get a lot of vertical growth, like so like subscriber numbers, is kind of like luck and waves, and kind of being like,
yeah. So okay, okay. So I don't know if we got the full context here. I actually wasn't listening at the very start there. She's being asked if she's ever changed her opinion after a debate, okay? And she's like, she can't come up with a single adversarial example. It's like her only examples are, my mods have changed, my mods in my Discord have changed my opinion in a couple ways, and my husband. There isn't a single adversarial example she can give where someone she was against was wrong, where someone she was against was right, sorry. She literally can't do it. She cannot do it. She was always right, or if she wasn't right, her group was right. Her friends were right. Her husband, her mods, Destiny. If she wasn't right, at least they were right. But no one on the outside's right. Even though she like basically vindicates me constantly on every read I've ever had of her personality.
I didn't want to take content creation super seriously. I didn't want to just like, I was getting in a lot of trouble. Somebody was doxing me already. My college was getting, my former college was getting...
I'm pretty sure she's talking about Sunday here. She's talking about President Sunday. Just like absurd to call what President Sunday did doxing when your boy is doing some crazy shit the last couple of weeks, but whatever.
Getting contacted. I was super worried about my licensure getting contacted. So I just kind of like backed off. And as a result, I think I did unironically miss like the red pill wave up, where I think I would have been a very popular kind of red pill manosphere debater who's pretty anti red pill in a lot of ways. And he challenged me with basically talking about horizontal growth, how like a lot of creators will go up, but they don't build out any base, and therefore they also topple very quickly. And so it kind of changed my perspective on when you're doing content growth, you want to ride waves up, but once that wave up ends or is pausing for you, really work on horizontal growth. So growing your community, growing other mediums of income, growing your moderator community. Your moderator community can be really important for setting the culture.
This other person, a content creator. Yeah, they're like, they're my understanding is I saw like most yesterday because I was watching on like JStalks and my own as well. But my understanding is that basically she's like a 200 viewer streamer or 100 to 200 viewer streamer that basically does just like her med student work on stream with like, you know, horny guys in chat. That's my understanding.
Your Discord, if you're using a Discord, or your YouTube chat even, and building a donation community as well if you're going to be crowdsourced, building out your network of other content creators. Like that's all of the horizontal growth that has to happen as well. So I guess that's not like the most life-changing perspective change, but it was just like 2 days ago. If you want like the most life-changing perspective change I've had from a debate, I just have to think about it. I'm sure there's something though.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just curious because one of the big critiques is that when you enter into a debate and like you genuinely are trying your best to advocate for your position, sometimes you get like lost in the sauce, right? You start chasing the W so hard that you defend stuff that, I mean, you know, in like a less abrasive setting, you wouldn't necessarily defend.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm just curious if like you've had any like political viewpoints or like you know, like gender war viewpoints legitimately changed
Yeah.
by like the little like red pill men arguing with you.
Actually, it's almost in the opposite. When I started in the space, I was doggedly not a feminist. I wouldn't take the label. I was really grossed out with the way that feminists manage themselves. And about a year in, a rad femme community member, I won't even say we're friends because we're like oil and water. We just fight every time we have to talk about ideas. But she convinced me that because I do, so the reason part of why I'm frustrated with feminism is that I don't think that it fights for femininity. I think it fights for women to get into spaces of masculinity, which I think is fine. I just think it's literally not serving like 80%
I've got
of
to eat
humanity.
soon, guys. I'm fucking dying. I'm starving.
One of my biggest frustrations about like what I would call like cultural patriarchy is that people don't respect feminine traits. And I'm putting feminine because I think like most of these terms are, some of them are biologically downstream. Most of the ideas of what's feminine and masculine though is going to be culturally asserted, right? Skirts are for women, where skirts are, you know, kilts are for men in other cultures, et cetera, et cetera. And so once I realized that anything that's assumed as being feminine is now treated as just like nice and sweet and cute rather than respectable and indomitable and like revering, I was like, she basically was like, okay, that's your view. You want to advocate for a world where we actually respect, value, and truly treat feminine traits as something respect-worthy in the way that we treat masculine traits. You're a feminist. You just don't
this
like
part
your peers.
sucks. We're getting okay.
You're
we're
a
getting to the
feminist that
point.
none of the feminists will own. So that was like a major shift. I took the label feminist back on, and in most red pill shows, I'm very much own that.
Like it's so crazy. It's like the dumbest shit. It's like, well, my husband. Here's the times I could admit I was wrong. Well, my husband convinced me that horizontal growth is important as well as vertical growth, and someone told me I should use a label. I didn't change any of my beliefs. I just decided to use a label. So this is totally fucking worthless. You haven't changed your mind. How about try whistleblower? How about we try that one, Erudite? If you've ever changed your mind because of a debate on the definition of like the word whistleblower, for instance, try that one. Maybe. Just an idea. It's just like totally absurd. It's so absurd. These are the only examples where you've ever changed your mind. It's just crazy. It's fucking crazy.
That I'm a feminist, and then I typically like.
She is like perfect cult material. Right? She is just like the most vapid husk who is perfectly happy to just like take on the values of the people around her and parrot. That is it.
And then I immediately get well, you're not like any other feminist. But I think Dr. K had a really good argument, actually. We were talking with do you know Dr. K?
Vaguely, yeah. I mean, people have mentioned him and I've like maybe watched.
So here we go. Dr. K gets brought up here, okay?
On video.
He's as somebody who's like loved him for a long time, I think he's like got a good heart. And who's met him offline. He's one of the few people.
So he's got an amazing heart, okay? He's Dr. K is an amazing person, okay? Now, when you say Dr. K is an amazing person, all right? And you're about to go on. You go, Dr. K is an amazing person. He's great. He's even better in real life. He's amazing. He's such a good person. What do you follow that up with? Okay, we're gonna do a multiple choice game here. Okay, you're saying someone's an amazing person. What do you follow it up with? One. Let's go with one. Option one. A story about how the person you're talking about went out of their way to expend time and energy to help someone for no benefit of their own, for no benefit to themselves. Okay, that's option one. Option two. A story about how when this person was wronged, or when this person was, you know, in a terrible situation, they still showed grace and kindness to everyone around them. Or, option number three, a story about how this person complimented you. Which one do you think would be best to follow up going on about how much of an amazing person this guy is. Let's see what Erudite picks. There's a lot of people saying, let's see what Erudite picks. Let's see what she picks here.
That I've met who's a really big person online, like famous, that off camera is even better somehow. Yeah, Alok is such an incredible person, like such a good person, like through and through.
Oh, wait. Let's is there a... I don't even know what sound to use. I was going to use like the countdown sound or something maybe. Oh wait, here we go. This is perfect.
Doesn't mean he has enough errors and that he hasn't messed up. Oh my gosh, he is such a good person. And he said that...
So, right, here we go. Okay, she failed it.
Basically, if you can take an audience of 4K and take them from the view that not a single woman is logical to there is at least one woman who is logical, that's actually a huge difference because you're completely breaking a fundamental rule in their mind. And if you can break that rule, everything else can come with it, right?
So Dr. K is such an amazing person. He told me I'm making a difference in the world. Dr. K is such an amazing person. He told me that I'm making a huge difference with what I'm doing. This is stupid thinking as well, by the way. This is incredibly low IQ stuff. I truly, I don't know how Dr. K, of all people, is saying this. I thought he'd have a better understanding of psychology, at least, than this. The idea that when guys say, there's not a single logical women, all women are fucking stupid, that they genuinely believe as a hard rule, that it's a firm rule in their mind, not a single woman is logical or intelligent. No, that's not how they're operating. They're saying those words, but all it is a general sentiment and angst towards women. It's not actually a hard rule. You don't achieve anything by breaking that rule. You don't achieve anything. Even if Erudite was capable of breaking that rule, you don't achieve anything by doing that. Because it's not actually a hard rule. It's not that set. The idea that it's that set is fucking delusional.
It's like, okay, well, maybe there's 2 logical women. Oh, well, there's actually 3 logical women, right? As soon as there's one, there's space for there to be 100 more. So I'm happy to be the one, and then to insist there are more. They're just not online typically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Man, I wish you knew more about Dr. K. I want to ask you about him.
I mean, so I only know the story because people have explained it to me in chat, and I only know about, I guess, like the big stuff, like the streamer who, took his own life.
Yeah. Wreckful.
I feel like we've talked a little bit about it in my streams, where, I mean, I only watched a snippet, but I did feel like, I mean, you can say that something's not therapy, but then, like, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, like, is it that crazy that people think it's a duck? Like, and that's where I think I feel. So
this Lainey, just like, I don't know if she actually says, oh fuck, we actually missed, dude, we missed a good part. We did miss a good part. There's one moment where Lainey says to Erudite, she says, what is it? It's like, I did some research on you beforehand. You've got some serious haters. That's how I knew you were a big star. And Erudite's like, Erudite goes, she says, no joke. I think this is what she says. I think my haters might be more powerful than anything else at this point. No joke, she says that. No joke, she says that. Yeah, I'm getting treated like, Erudite is treating me like the Nazis treat the Jews. Their enemy is simultaneously all powerful and all controlling, while also being so weak and stupid, okay? Simultaneously, I'm getting treated, she treats me like the Nazis treat the Jews. Read into that as much as you want. Please, read into that fully.
Uncomfortable about it. Like, I can believe that the intentions were pure, and at the same time, I can also see that the outcome was not great,
Yep. Here's one of the tricky things that I think.
Yeah, it is that deep, actually. It is that deep.
Is because Steven was really close to Wreckful. It was like one of his closer friends before he passed away. and Stephen has made this argument a few times, it's not actually obvious that Alok's relationship with him didn't just postpone his suicide. That, like, Reckful had been attempting regularly, often, right? He had a very severe mental illness. He was really struggling. And I think Alok did make missteps with Reckful. I don't like people blaming him ever for what happened to Reckful, which I don't think you're doing. But I think I really dislike this idea that somebody is basically doing almost exclusively good, and then they make an error and now they're ontologically bad. Like, it's like we treat people who are aiming well as more fallen than bad people.
Any other examples? And Dr. K, do you want to bring up Erudite? Any other examples you think about of people who do almost exclusively good? Maybe the sorts of people who routinely commit consent violations and then go on a weeks-long doxing, brigading, spurging out, crashing the fuck out spree. Maybe threatening, doxing, brigading, etc. Spree. Maybe that sort of person. Almost entirely good. Dude, she's sickening, that. It's truly sickening.
Mentally ill people and farm them for content, unironically, all the time. And nobody seems to really care that much, but it's because they're like, well, the streamer's just kind of a piece of shit. And it's like, okay, so Dr. K is now evil because he's made errors, but people who like are actively making content out of mentally ill to make them worse are fine.
So who's actively making content out of mentally ill people? Who's she indicting for this? Because that was Destiny's content for like 3 years. You were part of the circus. So you can't have a problem with that now, really, can you? What, you have a problem with farming mentally ill people now? I don't think you get to complain about that, Erudite.
Like, is this really how we're scaling people? I don't know if that's super fair. I also think like the APA came out and weighed in on the Reckful situation, which a lot of people, I don't know if you've read. Have you read the correction that he has on his like name now?
No, I haven't.
So a lot of people, I'd be curious what you think of it. When I read through it, I've seen, so when I was doing like my undergrad and my like master's, like graduate diploma, which is not a full master's, it's like a year and a half of graduate school, basically. We went through a number of these, and the language on it is pretty mild. They don't require him to take down any content. They don't require him to change any of his policy. They don't require him to stop doing these like therapy, not therapy.
Like, he already changed policies. That's basically what saved him, is my understanding. Is that he'd already after Reckful died, they already did like a review of like onboarding and shit like that.
Arguments.
Again, I don't want to relitigate the whole Dr. K medical board thing. She says it's the APA in this. It's not. The Massachusetts medical board thing. I don't want to relitigate all that because I don't remember all the details, and I wouldn't want to make firm statements that are totally wrong. However, if anyone cares about this stuff like super deep about that specific disagreement, I believe there is a video on both my channel and a video on Erudite's channel, possibly multiple videos on my channel going over her response to, about the different perspectives, shall we say, on the Dr. K reprimand.
He overstepped a little bit with Reckful, and they like kind of analyze. I would need to remember, but basically they kind of say like what he did with Reckful specifically was a bit of an overstep, specifically in the moment, which is what I've been saying from the beginning, where he promised to be Reckful's friend for 2 years.
So no, so she says, which is what I've been saying since the beginning. She has to constantly reaffirm that nothing that's being said here is new or something she hasn't considered before. It's like her position can't change. She is dug in on this position because she loves Dr. K and hates Mr. Girl. And that's what it comes down to. Make no mistake, that is what it comes down to. So she's totally dug in on this, and she has to, no matter what is said here, no matter what argument is made, she has to format it in a way that makes it clear that she has considered everything that's obvious before and been good faith with it, right? She has to make it so anything that Mr. Girl could have said before, anything that any caller on any show could have said before, she's already addressed that, she's already acknowledged that, she's looked at that in good faith, evaluated it, and dismissed it. But she can't do that and act like Laney's making good arguments, because Laney's making the same arguments they've made before. So you're going to see like a horrible display of needle threading. It's crazy.
And then also walked it back. So they were like, probably shouldn't have promised to be his friend for 2 years, right? Especially shouldn't promise to be somebody's friend for 2 years if you're going to walk it back, right? That's not.
Or Chud, yeah.
Obviously.
I mean, Chud, to be fair, Chud was less about Reckful. Chud didn't speak about Reckful very much. He was more about the Ayurveda stuff, right?
But by and large, that's it. They didn't say anything about the other content. They didn't say his content was problematic. And so I think there's this issue in that, like, what is therapy? Well, what's therapy for a psychiatrist doesn't look like anything that he's doing, because he's not asking them about their meds. He's not prescribing them. He's not updating those things. But obviously, that's not what people care about. What they're saying is, it looks like therapy. It acts like therapy. It smells like therapy. And I think the issue is that it's therapeutic in a whole bunch of ways. But there's this space where...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did have conversation about his medication.
If
and about diagnoses. He didn't diagnose him directly, but he did... like, stop bringing up diagnoses, right? He was like, oh, maybe, right?
Agreeing to be in this public space and all these sorts of things. We'll make it clear that it's not therapy because
I don't think he diagnosed him with BPD, but he said, basically, I think you have BPD or something to that effect.
But a therapeutic conversation...
He didn't, like, officially diagnose him.
...is really wonderful and helpful. And if both parties are consenting for it to be public... that's oftentimes some of the most healing content people will consume. Like, people...
So, okay.
Because you're not regularly seeing them, you're not doing modules. But a therapeutic conversation is really wonderful and helpful. And if both parties are consenting for it to be public, that's oftentimes some of the most healing content people will consume.
But that's the point, right? Dude, this is the whole point of, like, having ethical standards. Is that there are some things that a patient can't consent to. Some things that a patient shouldn't be able to consent to. You shouldn't have the incentive open up. Because here's the thing about Dr. K, right? There's this huge incentive where, or lining up of incentives, where basically Dr. K is at an increased level above a normal therapist, incentivized to maintain contact, right? It's not just that Dr. K gets paid his hourly rate for his sessions. It's that Dr. K has a huge clout opportunity. If he can have conversations with this guy where this guy's breaking down and talking about all of his innermost troubles and traumas, that's gold for Dr. K. That makes Dr. K look like an amazing therapist, like this fucking guru. It boosts his profile because he's talking to a huge streamer. So there is this opening up of incentives where, and there's Reckful's incentivized to keep doing it because Dr. K seems like he's helping him, and his viewers are pushing it forward. There's like this whole, like, you know, the viewers are saying it's a great idea and pushing Reckful to do it, and then Dr. K's viewers are like inviting Reckful. Like, there's this whole ecosystem built up around it that possibly a lot of people, I would imagine, wouldn't be comfortable with being involved in a medical setting. Honestly, don't think I am really. That seems very fucked. That's it. The idea that you're basically doing therapy on a live stream like that seems very, very fucking strange to me. I don't think that should be something that we allow medical practitioners to be doing personally. But let's watch this. Let's keep watching.
Sure, Dr. K changed thousands of lives with his interviews. I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. The incentive for content is not aligned with doing a normal therapy work. Exactly. It's not aligned with safeguarding. It's not aligned with anything positive for the patient, really, at all. It's just like a totally fucked situation where you can't know how much anyone is truly okay with what's happening until it's too late.
Of it. And so I don't like the conflation of saying that because it's therapeutic in nature, that he's therefore being practicing.
Guys, we might be grabbing food and smoking and stuff, okay?
By and large,
I might go camera in a minute.
They're still working with him. In fact, they've got a whole new project with him. They essentially have a slap on the wrist about his Reckful stuff. Like, it is functionally a slap on the wrist. And I think what's happening in the mental health crisis with psychology in general.
Like, and dude, her recounting of this is like, if I was telling this, if someone asked me about the Dr. K medical board stuff, I would be like, oh, I don't entirely remember. Like, I feel like my impression was always that, you know, it seemed pretty bad, but because he took action to fix it afterwards, they didn't really carry through with any punishment. They didn't follow through with any real punishment. It was just sort of like a reprimand. That would be like roughly, but I'd say like, yeah, I don't really remember any of this. You might have a different reading, but you might want to go look at it yourself. That'd be like sort of my presentation. Erudite is like, she's so just like, you know, has to have her hand in people's brains, you know, wants to make sure that they're going where she wants them to go. And she'll do like these fake caveats where it's like, well, I think that it's just a slap on the wrist. These like fake caveats. And she just wants her hand on people's brains, just steering them every time, making sure they go to the right conclusion. It's like so just ill, man. I hate these people.
We don't know the answer.
It's like her and Woo. Her and Woo. You know, it's like anyone see? We're gonna do a Soy Marvel movie reference, like a Nick Diorio stream in here. Okay. Anyone seen Deadpool and Wolverine? Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, where there's the Charles Xavier bitch who puts her hand in people's faces and fucking controls her brain. That's how Erudite and Woo come off to me. Is they are just straight like they would put, if they could, they would drive their hand through your face and just like fiddle with your brain. If they could do that, they would absolutely. The moment they had the opportunity, they would do that. 100%. Where's the pinball machine? We're not going that path, okay?
Therapy is not medicine. Even when we've tried to treat it like it is, it's just not.
It's just like the Marvel movies. Wow.
I'm sad.
Can I do the soy point?
My life sucks, and my parents suck, and I have no friends, and I feel hopeless and purposeless. There isn't like a medical marker for this, and so I think what's happening in like the APA.
What's your biggest issue with Kyla? Her personality, the same it's always been.
People trying a whole bunch of stuff to see if it helps, and if it helps a lot of people really quickly, we tend to like it broadly.
Also, guys, please remember to like the stream. Okay, first of all, like the stream. Very important stuff that you like the stream. If you appreciate this content, if you want to see more people get to know the Kyla content, understand why Kyla sucks, make sure you like the stream because it helps push the stream out there. Okay. Now, if you want to take this one step further, I'm setting up a goal. I set up a goal in chat right now. Super chats with the Erudite Content Recovery Fund, where you can help me recover from the psychic damage of watching Erudite content by contributing financially. Thank you for the $1.99, Adarius. Personality meaning what exactly? I think she is an incredibly vapid person at her core, who takes on the beliefs of those around her with very little criticism. I don't think she's good at introspecting. I think she dismisses anyone on the outside of her social group as having nothing worthwhile to say, especially about her, but then will basically acknowledge bad that she'll do this thing. A lot of people do this. It's not just her, but this is a very annoying trait. When someone describes a trait that someone has in a negative light, she denies it, but she will describe the same trait in a positive light, and she'll accept that as true. Example. Someone like me or some other hater might say,
there is no recovery.
Erudite is very inauthentic. You're not getting Erudite when Erudite talks to you. She is deliberately going out of her way to essentially what she would say, meet you where you are, which is presenting a false image of herself.
Smile.
Presenting a false image of herself that is more moderate or less bought into something to try and convince you more, right? She will bring herself closer to you than where she actually is. And when I describe it, or someone else describes it, they might say she's being dishonest and manipulative by presenting herself as something she actually isn't. She's being fake. What she will say is, I'm tailoring my messaging. And she'll say, people call me inauthentic, but I'm just masking and code switching. I'm just more aware of how much I'm doing than other people. Everyone else is doing the exact same thing I'm doing, but I'm just more aware of it. Which is just blatantly not true. Not everyone acts in the same way she does. Not everyone does the same extent of tailoring of messaging towards others. Because it's not actually Erudite standing on anything. It's just the DGG trash panda being out once again.
We try to build ethics to support that thing, which I think is, I don't want to say.
What was it set off about Chud? She said he gave up all of his political views for content. That's what she claimed last time. I don't believe that's why she's upsetting personally.
Good. I think it's messy, but I think it is triage oriented, which in the state of the mental health crisis that we have right now.
Maybe $2.
I don't know what else we do because we don't have enough practitioners to meet the need.
She also literally she straight up can't accept any criticism from outside. She's still claiming it's all because of misogyny that she's getting attacked. It's so absurd. It's just like so dumb.
Unsatisfying answer.
No, I mean, I think that's fair.
She says in this she says in the stream at one point, she says, dude, it's so funny. We finally got through, because you remember like a couple months ago, she would always say like, oh, people just hate me for misogyny, people just hate me for no reason, and we would always mock it. I would always mock it in videos. I would be like, oh yeah, everyone just hates you for no reason whatsoever. Just all these people are just collected up and all just hate you for no reason whatsoever. And she finally says in this stream at some point, she said about people hating her that she collects a lot of haters that hate her a lot. And she finally said, I don't know what it is, but there must be something. And I was like, oh my god, we got there. The bare minimum. The bare minimum. There must be something. Holy fuck.
Back and forth on it. I mean, first of all, I think the fact that he is an actual medical doctor does mean that he probably should be held to a higher standard, simply because he has the training, to keep himself there. And that's why, I mean, maybe I think he got outsized blowback immediately after the situation.
NotSoErudite has been kicked out of 109 streams for no fault of her own.
At least
never stop farming the mentally ill body.
Thank you for the $5. Huge appreciate it. Thank you.
Because we're not comparing him to the alternative. We're comparing him to...
Okay, this is what
I was saying. I mean, maybe I think he got outsized blowback immediately after the situation. But I don't know if I'm totally convinced that, at least he's better than the alternative, because we're not comparing him to the alternative. We're comparing him to, the correct way to practice medicine. And then second of all, I think I take issue with the idea that if it's meant to have a therapeutic impact or a healing impact, it seems strange that it's also done publicly. I mean, both parties can consent, but sometimes...
So this is like the absolute... this has been said many times. Loads of people have claimed this. Loads of people have put this forward. Loads of people made these arguments so many times, okay? So many times these arguments have been made. And Erudite has been very defensive of live stream therapy, okay? Very defensive. Because she basically said she wants to do what Dr. K does. She basically wants to do that one day. Very defensive of live stream therapy. Here, Lainey, cereal for breakfast. Was it cereal for breakfast? Cereal for every meal, I think, actually. Cereal for breakfast, I'm not sure. That doesn't make any sense. Name, does it? Because everyone has cereal for breakfast. Not everyone. I mean, this Lainey, cereal for every meal. This girl. Making the point well, making it intelligently. It was rude when you assumed her husband was a cuck, considering there's no evidence outside of her friendship with Destiny. I've never assumed that she's fucked Destiny. I've always pushed back against that. I've said that it's possible. But I've, for the most part, I've always said that I don't think that's the case. I think Destiny hates her. Like, on a personal level, I think he can't fucking stand her. Go watch the Bridges episodes. When she does, when she says, I'm super curious, you see the look on his face. He sat there like... It's when she's, burying herself on the whistleblower point, and he's, looking down. He's, looking at his phone or something, burying his fucking face. He's like... And then he says, look, you guys are all missing something, and then just corrects her. You can go back through so much of that content, and you can see so much. He cannot stand her, but yeah, she's a tool. She's a tool. She's useful. She's a way to launder his reputation. She's like a buffer, a secretary, a PA, a receptionist, a liaison. She is the nice face, the human face, that will go be a ditzy woman with fake tits in those situations and make him seem good to people. That was her role. That is her role.
As the medical provider, you do have to make a decision about whether or not it's in the patient's best interest, even if they think it is.
Yep.
And that's why I wonder if, it almost... hurt his intent to bring him on, talk about these personal issues.
What is this? That was her goal. She even says as much. She doesn't even hide that, okay? This is a mean interpretation of it, but she doesn't even hide this. She said when Bridges was getting made, the goal of Bridges and the point of her connection with Steven was to try and help his reputation, to help him get connections with people that were otherwise put off by his personality or history. That was her goal. That was the project. Was Erudite helping him make connections with this by being the human face, by being the nice person. That was her stated goal, stated purpose.
She couldn't think of a debate/convo that changed some of her positions because Destiny already does that for her.
Thank you for the $10.
To a bunch of viewers. I mean, you can make the argument that there are depressed people who watch the stream and got some value out of it. You can like always utilize true till it, but like I feel like because he had a therapeutic alliance, or like he had a therapeutic obligation to Reckful by agreeing to kind of take him on and discuss it with him, that obligation should have trumped the positive impact from Reckful's example.
Yeah, she wants to try and legitimize him. Yeah, exactly. And again, nothing wrong with that, really. You know, ultimately, if you want to be Destiny's, you know, like enabler, secretary, whatever, you do that. But let's be fucking honest. Let's all own the dynamics that are happening, own what's going on, be honest about what's going on, be honest about what we think, especially be honest about each other's bad actions, each other's wrongdoing, and how much that violates our claimed morals. Maybe even start reformatting some of our claimed morals to try and, you know, not be so condemning towards other people who might have engaged in the same or similar actions that your business partner engaged in. I just think there's a lot of things that need to happen here. It's not even that I care that she's the enabler or the secretary. She can do that. She can do that. I don't care that Destiny's running his business. I don't give a fuck. Destiny can make his money. I truly don't care. But let's be honest. Let's be real about what's happening. And Erudite is not honest and real about what's happening.
I guess lastly, I feel like
she has to coat everything. At the moment, she'll give like a little bit, she'll give like the super nice version of like part of what's going on. But then the moment you say you have a negative opinion of it, it gets yanked back. It's like, I'm trying to legitimize Destiny. Oh, so you're like playing defense, you're like an enabler. The point is that you were trying to make him look less bad despite his long history of immoral actions. Well, no, I just believe in rehabilitation and blah, blah, blah. No, that you're just saying exactly what I just said. But you prefer to add in like your motivation. You're adding in like these motivations like, oh, I actually just care about troubled men and blah, 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 blah. You're adding in these motivations when I'm describing your actions and the effect. Because you think by adding in your motivations, it makes you sound like less of a bad person. And I'm making you sound like a bad person. So if you sound like a bad person, maybe stop doing the things that make you sound bad. You know? Instead of trying to spin everything to actually be an epic positive.
Maybe it's like the stuff that we talk about, it's double-edged because, I mean, I can buy that, you know.
Do you think she's an enabler? Based upon what? Based upon her long history of enabling? Go back and watch any of the Mr. Girl conversations where Destiny was getting called out for similar behavior he's been called out for recently. Go watch the Turkey Tom conversation where she said he was remorseful and that he was going to change, and then he immediately went back to harassing victims and doxing people. Do you want to rattle off any more examples, or?
He's not as blameworthy as some people would make him out to be, but ultimately it doesn't change the fact that he's still culpable for the harms that resulted. And that's why I also don't know if I'm comfortable with like the APA. Okay,
another example. In her video, she's also said, Destiny doesn't have problems with people. People have problems with Destiny. She basically says none of his problems are because of him, but because of how people react to him.
The fact that the APA backed him, like using
how much more enabling you get in that.
For whether or not what he did was in line with like the ethics of the profession. I guess that, like, in my mind, is ought. Yeah. And the whole discussion is whether or not we.
The Discord links are at discord.gg/Kuihman.
Not whether or not,
to find.
You know, like an accrediting body.
I don't know if I'll bring you on right now. Anyway,
we just fall in line because we believe in the accrediting body.
Yeah, it's the morals, not just the ethics.
Yeah, and like I think, I don't know. I guess like I can see why it feels like an attack to have a bunch of people on the internet flaming you and essentially blaming you for, you know, causing someone's death or not doing enough to prevent it. But at the same time, it's like, that is inherent to medicine. You know, like, that's why we do M&Ms. It can be true that you did everything you could in your power in that moment. And it can also be true that you fucked it up and you killed someone.
Yep. Yeah. So I guess in my view, I don't want to just say that Dr. K is better than nothing. I think Dr. K is phenomenal. I think he is excellent. I don't think he's just better than nothing. I think he's uniquely good.
But okay, but the point is, that's not the point she made. It's, does he adhere to standards? It's about adhering to standards. It's not about, is he good? Do you think he's good? It's about adhering to medical standards, adhering to ethical standards. That's the point she's making.
I also think he's probably not replicable. I think that's the actual concern that I have. I think at a moral level, he's actually like, especially if the moral system that we're using to any degree is some level of utilitarianism, like harm, then I would say he's exceptionally good. I think his orientation.
Okay, well, what about if you're using rule utilitarianism, Erudite, where medicine shouldn't be practiced in ways that aren't approved by the ethical board because that could result in negative effects if that rule is continually breached. What if you're a rule utilitarian? I can very easily immediately come up with ways in which this does not actually pass the fucking smell test from a utilitarian perspective, to be honest. It's actually very easy. It's very easy. She's so fucking stupid, man.
Is good. I think he does enough of the self-work. He's got enough board and oversight. I think he is phenomenal. The problem is that I don't think that at a collegiate level,
there's no way to think that my friend is literally the best person ever. All of my friends are literally the best people ever. There's no way from a utilitarian perspective to think that any of my friends are bad people. Dr. K, Destiny, they all just do such amazing things. They're such amazing people. It's like so transparent. And when you hear, I don't know if I will see the clip here, she says at some point in this conversation, you have to believe me, she says the number one thing she wants is belonging. She wants a circle. A like-minded group of like intellectuals that, you know, she's got like a circle and knows all these people. That's what she wants, and it's so transparent that everything is filtered through that. All of it is filtered through.
It's replicable in an ethical way without a lot more thought about safeguards, right? Because while I think Dr. K actually handles himself not just ethically above board, but morally above board, which I think is the fundamental. Like I'm sure you and I agree.
You think he doesn't just carry himself ethically above board, but morally above board? Wait, but the whole point is it was ruled that he wasn't ethically above board. You fucking idiot! They literally said that was the whole point. He got a reprimand because it wasn't above board, dude.
There are some ethics that exist within medicine that are just mostly about liability, but the ones we care about are the moral ethics, right? It's about the moral requirement
the moral
of
ethics
given the station that you have. I just think that at a moral level, he's doing basically the highest level of moral good that he possibly can. But I do think that he has slipped up. I think, for example, Wreckful is a situation where he probably should have vetted better. He probably should have opted more quickly.
Maybe the $5?
This is not the best. My understanding is that after Wreckful, they also did a massive internal look at it and did update their process by which who comes on. And they vetted a fair bit more closely. Trying to think of what else, because you said a few things there that I wanted to respond to. I should have written them down. Replicability. The concern I think that we have at a collegiate level with Dr. K is...
Yeah, like, this is another thing she's doing. At a collegiate level. We're interested in this collegiate level conversation with you. There's no way Mr. Girl or Chud or anyone else could have ever brought up any of these points before because they make sense coming from you. This is a collegiate level conversation because we go to college, we've been to college. It's a collegiate level conversation that no one else has ever made these points before. Otherwise, I would have been good faith with them at those times. You're making these points for the first time because it's a collegiate level conversation between us, collegiates.
Okay, say Dr. K truly does have all these good intentions. He's built all these safeguards. He has other medical professionals that vet his stuff, that are...
Like you see what I'm saying, right? You see what's happening here. She's having to disregard, she's having set this conversation up in a way that makes it so Lainey is intelligent, but everyone who's ever made these criticisms before is stupid, right? because she's already disregarded all those people before, said that everyone talking about it was dishonest, all this shit. So now she has to come up with the way to thread the needle of making Lainey smart in this conversation, of making her feel like Erudite thinks she's smart, but having already said all those things beforehand.
Constantly updating and redoing their programming, and they're constantly trying to basically self-evaluate and ensure that they are being as ethically solid as they absolutely can be, particularly in an ethically gray media.
Yeah, it's the hello human resources,
social media.
Literally. Yeah, Mr. Girl, hello, Mr. Girl says, I think Dr. K's conduct is unethical. Hello, human resources? And then it's Lainey, it's like, I think Mr. Girl's conduct is unethical. It's, oh, how sweet. Yeah, for real. It
just obviously is, because you're getting rid of one of the major components, which is the privacy.
Well, how smart, probably.
Which I just totally
Wow,
agree
you're
with.
so smart. Wow, this is collegiate level.
As being gone. I don't know if I believe that privacy is like this end-all be-all, particularly if the person's consenting. Like, we have group therapy for a reason, and group therapy is super, super effective. If you have somebody who is a practitioner who's not ethical, who's not maybe meaning well, who isn't capturing themselves more closely, who's asking third parties regularly to reevaluate them, I think that the Dr. K model could be disastrously harmful. And I think that's more so where the question of it has to be engaged with. Not so much that, like, well, what...
Some could argue that it has been harmful. Some could argue it has been disastrously harmful. It has gone terribly wrong in at least one case.
Dr. K is doing is risky. It's like, it is risky, but if he's consistently performing above board, he still has some errors, but if he's also responding to those errors correctly and ethically, that's what we would ask him to do. The real question is, what if somebody else who doesn't want to be as ethical does it? That's the real question. Like, what do we do with that situation? And that's the actual concern that I think the Dr. K situation raises, is we don't know the answer.
But it's just like so crazy. Again, she's saying, basically, she's saying that Dr. K is amazing and there's no criticism of Dr. K. All criticism has to be of future cases. There could never have been a criticism of Dr. K. So all Mr. Girl shit is wrong. All Chud shit is wrong because Dr. K is so amazing. But those criticisms could be true about someone in the future, someone who's not as amazing as Dr. K.
Right? The APA coming out in support of him means, like, I've watched so many psychologists talk about the APA finding of Dr. K, and they're like, I guess what he's doing is just like any of us could just kind of do this, but also, like, if we fuck up too much.
No, Aldous Huxley, you're wrong. That's not what she's saying. No, that might be what that means. She said collegiate level conversation. That's what she said. Collegiate level conversation. That's what she said. When we're having these, my collegiate level concern, that's what she said. She didn't say collegial review. Or sorry, I can't even see what you said exactly. With shared responsibilities and peer review as a collegial review system. Yeah, she didn't say collegial review or anything like that. She said collegiate level criticism, I think was the word, exactly. So what she's saying is, we're college level, we're having a smart conversation. That's what she's trying to say, in her own gimped, fell off a horse as a child way.
That's going to be really bad, right? And so, yeah, I think you're raising really serious concerns. I just don't know if Dr. K deserves the punishment. I think people are putting the risk that he presents as a moral baton against his character, when his character is actually above board. But the risk is serious and has to be looked at an industry level.
Okay, C-Space, she's getting banned on that account too. No problem, man. Easy.
Yeah, I think maybe...
No problem, buddy.
Ultimately, my objection to it is just that I'm not sure that what he's trying to do can actually be done in a safe and ethical way. Like, you can put in safeguards to make sure egregious things don't happen, but I'm just not sure that the fact that, like, other people he's interviewed haven't gone on to take their own lives is proof that what he's doing is net positive. And I think simply because, like, first of all, your therapist is not supposed to be your friend.
Yeah,
in medicine, there's a reason why you're not.
Wishing a speedy recovery, smile, red heart emoji.
Thank you.
Egregious things don't happen, but I'm just not sure that the fact that like other people he's interviewed haven't gone on to take their own lives is proof that what he's doing is net positive. And I think simply because, like, first of all, your therapist is not supposed to be your friend.
College kids will be like, afford me your most effervescently magnanimous approbation, and then die in a drunk driving incident. Dude, stop.
And there's a reason why you're not supposed to treat friends or family members unless it's like a time of emergency.
Yeah.
And I do think when it's like a fellow streamer, you know, you like get to know them, you know, engage with each other's communities. It's hard to really keep that mentality of like, we are not friends, you know, I am treating you. And I think it also is just difficult for me to believe that therapy can really be maximally effective when there are like thousands of people watching it. Like group therapy, I think is a little bit different because all the people in that group, you know, like they can relate to the experience, right? And it's also meant to be like what you say in group therapy stays within group therapy.
Yeah.
Whereas in these online discussions, like anyone can clip it. There can be people who come just to hate watch it. It can essentially be weaponized by people who genuinely cannot relate to what he's going through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree that I would basically say like, I think you're nailing all of the risks that are associated with it. Like,
what, by saying the exact same things Mr. Girl said like 2 years ago? Really?
Absolutely. Obviously, my position on Dr. K would update if more evidence came out, for example, that there was mass amounts of harm, that like if even like 10% of the people that went on later became significantly worse, they received a large amount of hatred and stuff, that would be something that I think should be very seriously weighed. I'm just not seeing that evidence at this point in time. It's interesting. It's very interesting talking to somebody in the medical field, because I think it's a very interesting. In psychology, there's kind of like two camps. There's very much like the medical field camp, and then there's like the arts camp. This is why you can get an arts degree and a science degree. And so kind of what you're outlining is the current war in therapy, for example, where it's like, people are like, well, you're not your client's friend. Quickly. And in therapy, we're like, we're definitely closer to a friend than not a friend. We're a paid friend, right? But like in DBT therapy, you call that person, you're available for 24 hours a day for the first week that you take on that client, and you try to actively build a pretty like close personal relationship. And there's certain like ethical provisions that have been made, for example, for like attending events with that person, like going to graduations or like going to like to a graduation after party. And there's like ethical standards erected for how you manage that situation, right? Because if the main healing modality that we can find is rapport and relationship, that means our ethics cannot be the thing making the treatment less efficacious. That would be harming our clients.
So this is about friendship. This doesn't respond to the point about live stream therapy. This is like what in what world is live stream therapy the only efficacious way of treating someone?
For our own safety, which would be bad. But at the same time, some of the people most willing to lean into ethically muddy areas with their clients are also more likely to be shitty people a lot of the time and not be super cautious about it, which is a huge, like you're outlining perfect.
I'm still this from J-Stalk. But J-Stalk said, like, basically in the ethical setup that Erudite is creating, you would basically have to allow, if, let's say there was like a 50-50 chance if a therapist had sex with their patient, the patient's mental illness would be cured. Erudite would just basically be like, yeah, well, we can't have ethics stop therapists from having sex with their patients because it could help them. That's what Erudite is setting up.
Typically, the battle in psychology, in very good terms.
Sorry, I have worms in my brain. Can you say a little bit more on that?
Yeah. Basically.
So here we go. Can you say a little bit more on that? So I think what Lainey here is saying, what Lainey here meant by that is, wow, you sound really fucking stupid. Wow, Erudite, you sound really fucking stupid right now. That wasn't really a response to what I said. Could you talk more so I know exactly which attack angle I'm taking at this really fucking retarded statement you said? Erudite, unfortunately, reads it a different way.
In very good terms.
Sorry, I have worms in my brain. Can you say a little bit?
I have worms in my brain. So it's her fault. It's her fault, guys.
Basically, there's like, ooh, I'll use really stupid words for this instead.
I'll use really stupid words for this, because obviously you weren't getting it. Okay, Erudite. Okay. I think you're probably not in the position to be talking that way right now. Reminder, yeah, she says she's not condescending. She's never been condescending. The only people who say she's condescending are misogynists who hate women. They just don't understand women.
Okay, there's like the artsy-fartsy woo-woo people. They are still empirically trained professionals, but we'll just call them the artsy-fartsy woo-woo people who are concerned that if we erect ethics that are about like keeping distance from clients, we're harming the main modality by which treatment occurs, right? Which is rapport and relationship. And like, yeah, you get it. And then there's the other side that's like, and if we don't keep these standards really strict, people are going to take advantage of their clients. And that is the worst possible outcome. And that is, I don't know the answer perfectly. That's a really contentious issue in psychology. This is like the war between the research psychologists and the practicing psychologists.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I guess it's just like, I feel like maybe psychology cannot view itself perhaps like a serious and almost like medical science, perhaps, and maybe not be held to the same standards.
I agree.
I mean, like, it sounds...
No, you don't. Why is she saying she agrees? This is what I mean. This is manipulative. You are saying you agree to something you don't agree to because you're trying to get her to believe your opinion. Erudite's focus... I'll just come back in camera for a minute because I'm doing anything right now. Erudite's focus is convince Lainey that Dr. K is good. It's not about the discussion, the actual underlying discussion, the underlying principles here. That's not what's going on right now. They're not actually, willing. Erudite's not willing to actually clash on the underlying principle. All she's focused on is convince this person that Dr. K, my friend Dr. K, is actually a really good guy. He's actually a really nice guy. So she's willing to bite this position that she doesn't actually agree with to make the other party more likely to listen to what her opinion on Dr. K is. So she clearly does not believe that psychology should have to take the same standards as other medicine, because she's making the argument here that it should be live streamed, that you should be able to be friends with them, basically, that she's making arguments with dual relationships. This would not be allowed for a doctor. This would not be allowed for a surgeon. You do want different standards for psychology, and you're making that argument. You're saying the treatment modality requires different standards. That has been your whole argument this whole time. So why are you now saying, oh, I totally agree. If psychology wants to be taken seriously, it has to stand by medical standards. You don't think that. You're just saying that to convince this person Dr. K is good.
So,
no,
like,
you're
corny,
totally,
like,
you're cooking.
Like, one of the corny things is, like, we get told, like, you can't, like, first of all, is, like, do no harm.
Yeah.
Right? Everything else is, like, it comes after. And so I guess maybe that's why in this case...
I mean, what is malice? Malice is intent to do harm. I don't think she's malicious. I think she's self-interested. But yeah, I think she uses, like, she even says it. She celebrates agreeableness and all this shit. She thinks it's a good thing to present yourself as someone you're not, or present your positions as something they're not, to convince people. She thinks that is fine and good, because positive utility. She thinks that's fine.
By the util arguments. And also, I do think that there's an element of rapport in therapy, but the rapport comes from you, like the therapist consciously making the decision to hold the patient in unconditional positive regard, even if they as an individual would not be inclined to do that. That being said, as soon as you notice that there is transference, that is like a major issue. And in cases where it's an online setting with a friend who likes you enough to agree to come on, also maybe is motivated by the fact that it'll grow both of your audiences.
Yep.
Like, I feel like there's almost just like an inbuilt level of transference that like is like kind of inevitable.
Yeah. And essentially what I'm saying is the psychology woo-woo people are saying, is transference semi-expected, and how do we navigate it ethically if it's part of the process by which healing occurs? Like if transference is sometimes like unavoidable, because like, for example, there's been here's a classic ethical conundrum we were given in one of my ethics classes. We've got a client.
Okay, well, we're not talking about transference being unavoidable, are we? We're talking about specific actions that are taken that foster that. That's what's being spoken about. It's like so
engages
crazy.
in lots of transference. They
the point,
often come...
Her argument is not some transference is unavoidable. We need to know how to navigate that ethically. Yeah, that's the point of ethical standards. That's the point of that is the we know. What you're arguing for is using transference. You're saying using violations of those ethics to heal. That's what Erudite is arguing for.
Try to get way too close to their therapist, and as a result, they have been transferred from care 6 times. They've now seen 6 different therapists, and they're always transferred because they get too close and the therapist doesn't want to engage in that. And they're basically at the point where they're going to give up on psychotherapy entirely. They're basically going to walk away, and they have a pretty severe mental health condition. What do you do? And just so it's clear, it's an ethical conundrum because it's an ethical conundrum. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like for me, I guess it depends on how the transference is actually impacting our therapeutic relationship.
Yeah.
I guess in this specific case, if the positives outweigh the harms, I would maybe be willing to give it another shot. But I really feel like there would have to be very clear pros outweigh the cons. It can't be like nebulous. It can't be like 60%, 10, like 40%. And I also maybe would only do it as a bridge to other therapists. I would not do it with the idea that, well, like me.
So, I mean, the point here basically is there should be clear guidelines and clear evaluations, clear processes for how this stuff happens. It shouldn't be that you just have Dr. K who goes out on his own to decide that, oh, Reckful needs this from me. Reckful needs this relationship with me. You have clear guidelines and processes for navigating any time this gets sticky. You certainly don't go out of your way to get into these sticky situations. But that's not what they've been discussing the whole previous time, really, is it?
It's better than like nothing, so I guess it's
so
me.
Dr. K's whole business is built on getting into those sticky situations. It's built on getting into those dual relationships where you're both streaming colleagues and your therapy client. Like that's his whole model. Is the seeking out those dual relationships, or was. He doesn't do the interview so much anymore.
Yeah, right. So I think one criticism of Dr. K could actually be, was he reckless? Was he a little bit too willing to...
Oh, yeah, who said that before? God, if only... what would be a really good idea? What would be genius? Is if someone made a whole documentary about Dr. K's relationship with Reckful and named the documentary Reckless. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be great, guys? Wouldn't that be Kino? I wish someone intelligent would do that. I wish someone intelligent with like a strong conviction on this stuff would do that. Sadly, they never have. Otherwise, Erudite would have accepted it back then, right? Erudite would have accepted it back then. Because, this is just the exact same arguments that they're having right now.
To just like, in his desire to want to help someone, he was incautious about certain very valid ethics that have been erected and cause of caution, right? Was he too reckless in that?
Someone with an eye for editing
so in this case,
structure.
Right, it's like, okay, say you decide to take on the client. Well, you better do so cautiously with a lot of boundaries pre-established and probably a third party to check in regularly to make sure that the boundaries stay maintained.
You frequent TV. I mean, I used to. Well, I say frequent. It was never frequent, really. I used to occasionally go on TV. I used to tell people that browse TV. I picked up a lot of the retarded shit from that.
Ethical boundaries stay maintained, like as much as possible, right? And it's also possible that that client, unfortunately, maybe can't be helped. Maybe they have to go to an inpatient treatment center where, to be honest, transference happens at a much more extreme degree, but you also have the boundary of you get to leave the space and they stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Not to distract too much, but I keep on eyeing the bunny on the side of your bed.
It's Mickey. She was very expensive.
Really?
I bought her at the
NBC?
yeah,
Okay.
she's a lamp. So
right,
I bought her at
we'll have a debate break. This is the end of this conversation anyway. She manages to get off of the Dr. K stuff. Unfortunately, this Lainey girl lets Erudite bring up the bunny and get off the Dr. K stuff. So it gets dropped here, sadly. There is a lot more funny stuff in here, but I don't have any timestamps. I can't able to go through everything. Now, I'm going to go off camera so I can chill. Okay, we'll bring this guy in. He's got disagreements, okay? So. Hello, Poof.
Hey, what's up, Kuihman? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Man, I'm making it. Just got off of work, worked a 12-hour shift, and I'm like, you know, what is Kuihman's up to?
Okay, what did you disagree with?
Well, so I'm curious about a few things, right? So number one, I asked the question, do you think she has malicious intent? And you said you don't think she has malice because malice is like bad intent.
It's like intent to harm. It's like intent to harm. You're just having a malice. It's like self-interest. This is she wants to achieve a goal.
Yeah. And so I get where you're working. So I mean, I get what you're saying. So look, I don't think she has malicious intent. I don't think she's maliciously agreeable. Right. I do think she can come across as overly agreeable, but I mean, in a space to where people are screaming at you, calling you a whore, bitch, or a motherfucker. Look, I get it. Right.
Okay, you know that she would say the total opposite, though, right? And she would say she's very disagreeable.
Yeah, she's lying to herself, not to me.
Yeah, but she would, okay, but she, yeah. But what I'm saying is that, well, you think that she doesn't present herself accurately, right? Surely you would agree with that. If she thinks she's disagreeable and you think she's overly agreeable, you don't think she presents herself accurately, right?
Fuck no.
Do you think she is just like an idiot who can't read herself, can't get an understanding of herself? Or
I think we all have a mask that we want to portray to other people, but that doesn't necessarily mean I don't think she's stupid. I don't think she's an idiot. I think she can read herself, but I think that when you're a streamer, that you're compromised to some meaningful capacity, and that she wants to come across as a certain kind of way that she may not be aware entirely that what she's trying to portray is not necessarily what she is.
But she claims she is aware of that. So you say she's not aware of it. Erudite claims she is more aware of the exact thing you just described than anyone else online. She literally says this, okay? She says she is...
Yeah, I can tell you that I'm rich, okay?
Okay,
I'm not.
But you're right. When all of Erudite's presentations of herself come off as false in a way that benefits her, eventually I stop thinking you're just not aware of this, and I start thinking you're doing this deliberately, right?
I'll grant you that. I'll grant you that for the sake of the conversation. Like, I don't know how long you can have me on.
So,
I don't want to spend too much time on.
So when I'm watching this and I see an example where, say, she is making an argument, like I assume you've been watching this whole time, where she's making this argument that basically, therapy should have basically different ethics to other medical professions because the way you heal in therapy is different to other medical professions. And then Lainey says to Erudite, well, I don't think therapy should have different standards because if it wants to be taken as seriously as other medical fields, it should have the same standards. And then Erudite says, I totally agree. We can tell from everything she said in that conversation previously, she does not totally agree with that statement. So why is she saying she totally agrees with that statement?
It's like the agreeableness. Maybe that's part of a...
But what's the purpose of the agreeableness?
So I'm a biological... I'm going to give her a bit of an out. I am a biological determinist, right? So I think that there is a meaningful... Oh, shit.
That's what you're saying, isn't it? You're saying she's just a woman. But I know loads of women who don't act like this, okay?
I think that's fair. What I'm going to get at is here that maybe because women are more biologically predisposed to be more agreeable in the first place, maybe that's a part of why she agreed with that, even though argumentatively and rhetorically, she did not agree with that statement. Like, you do not agree with the statement, therapy should be divorced from science. When you agree with the statement, therapy should be divorced from science.
I watch this conversation all the way through. She starts off from when Dr. K comes up to when this conversation ends. For this like last 30 minutes or whatever we've just watched. She starts off the moment Dr. K is raised. Erudite is saying he's such. She says this like 6 times in a row. He's such an amazing person. He's such a good person. He's got such a big.
No, the fuck he
such
isn't.
an amazing person. She said that like 6 times in a row. Reiterate this again and again. Then follows it up with, "He told me I'm making a big difference in the world." So here, the whole conversation is already primed. They're really close friends. She thinks he's an amazing person, and you should too. And then she will go as far as to make every argument in favor of him. But then at the last moment, when Eleni asks a question that is yes or no, or puts forward a thing she has to either agree or disagree on, and if she disagrees, she'll look very bad, she agrees. It seems like this isn't just her defaulting to agreeableness. The moment Dr. K has been raised, her priority is make Dr. K sound like a good person. That is her priority from moment one. The moment he comes up, that is what she's stressing.
Okay, I agree.
And then she does it the
that
whole
makes
way
sense,
through.
I missed that part of the conversation. Okay, so I apologize.
Fair enough. So all that says to me is she wants this person to think Dr. K's good, and if she has to like bite a bullet that she doesn't actually believe in to try and like get her foot in the door to make this person think that, she'll do that.
Like I said, I missed that part of the conversation, so I can't speak on it. I'll take your word for it. And if I go back and I find out that you're right, I'll concede immediately and I'll donate like $10.
Okay.
Right? I guess the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was that you said that she has a history of like being Destiny like secretary, like being his shield, so to say.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and being his buffer. The buffer part was like the funniest part to me. So when you say that, what do you mean specifically?
So the whole point of her getting brought on for Bridges and anything else as the booker was to basically have her be the point of contact for Destiny. Have her go and talk to people, present a good image of Destiny, answer any questions they might have or ease their concerns, and get them on shows. That's what I mean by buffer. She stands between Destiny and the outside world to be like his human face, to be the nice one that people actually want to talk to and people want to come on the show when she talks to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, so another criticism that I've heard other people levy at Erudite is that she, not so much that she's his buffer or his secretary, but more so she's his what's the word I'm looking for here? Is that she pays lip service or tries to erase a lot of his mistakes, like a lot of his sexual escapades. Which I mean, I try not to use words like abuse, but she tries to play lip service to that.
Yeah, she focuses a lot on, like, if she talks about it, she refers to them as, like, mistakes, fuck-ups, and she talks about how traumatized he is.
Leaking nudes for the 5th time is not a mistake.
But yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's
so that's why people say she's, like, downplaying and playing lip service, right? It's because, obviously, it's not a mistake. The guy is very intentionally doing fucked up things.
I'm sorry, but it's 2025. If you leak news for the first time, that's not a mistake. You did not get hacked, okay?
Well, I mean, he claims that this person got hacked, but I mean, that's not the point, really. Sent them around to people.
No, that's a lie. No. But I get that in the first place. Yeah. But it's a lie to say you got hacked in 2025. But like, why were you sending them in the first place?
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
That has nothing to do with trauma. That's not a mistake. That's just you're fucking stupid.
Right, but that's what she said. But that's what she'll say. She'll say he has lots of trauma. He's a very traumatized guy. You know, he doesn't know how to handle friendships all the time. Lots of people don't know how to interact with him. This is, again, go and watch.
What does that have to do with sending nudes, though?
Well, yeah, exactly.
He's not a child.
Okay, so it seems like you agree with the criticism fundamentally, Erudite.
Yeah, fundamentally, yes. I apologize then. But yeah, I guess because we hashed out whatever disagreement that we had. And I appreciate you for having me on in the first place. But I have to go back and watch this entire video because I only caught a part of it. But when you say that, when I asked you, did you think that she was maliciously agreeable? I was not asking you that to be an answer or anything. I was genuinely curious. Is that like what you believe? Like, was she being malicious, or did she have like what you call self-interested intent when she's becoming agreeable?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate that, bro.
All right. Well, catch you later. Thanks for coming on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Well, that was awesome, guys. Epic stuff.